Hello everyone, Alex here. Today we're gonna talk about the 10 best tanks in the game. At number 1, we have Nightwing. Nightwing is an awesome character, one of the best characters in the game. He needs to be at least at emblem level 25 to have this ranking. Gives him a lot of block amount and some damage reduction, plus the stats that he gained from HP bonus and defense bonus. You also need to have block gear on him, ideally some pieces here that also add block, and the communication device can be blocked. It has a small chance. It's he's a lot stronger with block in his kit. This way he also helps offensively in some way, that when he gets hit and he blocks, the opponents take superpower damage. Awesome character, works very well with Awesome Master Synergy, where then you give your whole team more attack stats, and because Nightwing blocks a lot, all allies are healed for 1% of their max HP. He's also plug and play, you don't need to have him with them because he's so beefy. He's the main tank that you can use in any type of content, or in a lot of type of content at least, where he can take a massive beating, deal some damage passively by getting hit. One of the best characters in the game, in my opinion. He also has the 3-turn stun from his ultimate that always targets the highest attack opponent, so it can really control an opponent and protect that way your team by having the biggest damage dealer from the opponent stand for 3 turns. Some people pair him with a cyborg that also silences the highest attack opponent, so they make a combo that can completely control an opponent's big high damage dealer that is supposed to kill you. At number 2 we have Blue Beetle. They pair very well together. They make a team most of the time together as a block team, and he may be not as beefy, but he's also a great blocker that activates Awesome Master Team Synergy. Big reason he's a great tank is his passive here, that for every 1% block chance that he has, he grants a crit damage reduction to the back row allies, plus here, where when he's hit by critical attack, he increases the damage reduction for the back row allies up to 20%, and he helps also with his emblem extra ability that he counterattacks, which then will remove opponents' frantic and give him firm stance so he can block more, and enemies damaged by the counterattack gain a 20% decrease crit rate and 30% crit damage reduction, so they will crit more and activate more protection for the back row. He's awesome in that, so he is a direct counter to Wonder Woman that used to be very dominant in the game, but Blue Beetle now can mess with her, so she cannot one-shot your back row. He helps protect them. He's also kind of beefy, he's not bad. His ultimate protects his back row, he gives shelter, but now Peacemaker does that better without having to use an ultimate, and personally I don't particularly use his ultimate. His advanced attack can turn a weaken into exhaustion if you have him at rank 9, so the opponents deal a lot less damage to you. He's a great character to protect your back row, especially against crit, and he's decent. He's not too bad as a main tank in his own right, but as a second tank together with Blue Beetle and Awesome Master Synergy, they're really like beefy and can withstand a lot. They kind of help each other because Nightwing ultimate will give front row allies firm stand, so then you block more also with Blue Beetle, and if you take into account like synergizing with Ocean Master, that heals them, that gives your team more attack, that gives them 50% block chance and block amount, can really make those two characters take negative damage. And Blue Beetle kinda gets a little bit of plug and play besides his team. Most people, of course, will have a bigger Nightwing. Just as the reason he's this high, and I also use that a little bit as a strategy, but people are starting to use him outside of his team just to protect his back row and against Wonder Woman. So he doesn't even really need to have a team around him to work, and he's part of maybe the strongest team in the game. At number 3 we have Original Superman, which I don't own, and the reason I have him there is assuming he has his badge at rank 30. If not, he's a lot lower on the list. But his badge at 30 gives him 2 turns of invulnerable when he's about to die. So those 2 turns are super impactful, that he just stands there for 2 turns without getting damage and absorbing attacks. He fits into a debuff team, he fits into a burn team, you can throw him in an area of effect team, like with a Wonder Woman and Green Arrow. He definitely has many places in the game where he can stand and sit for 2 turns without getting hit, so that's why I put him this high. Also, Burn is a team that starts countering block, both in arena to some degree and elite arena, and he's one of the few strong burn characters that will help this team stay alive for more turns just because of his invulnerability. At number 4 we have Peacemaker. Now that's not having taken into account, because I haven't tested that, how he will be better with Judo Master and Vigilante. Maybe he will even be like number 3 or whatever. We'll have to see about that. But even besides relying on building a team around those characters, he fits very well as plug and play, because he helps. For once, he puts out armor break. Nice, the opponents have a little bit less defense and you can do more damage. Eagly adds fragile, which then you will do more physical damage. So in a physical damage team, he really helps them put out more damage, or in League Challenge 2 where you need physical damage. And a massive reason he's here is because at the end of any round of the game, he adds 1 stack of shelter to everyone in his team, including himself. That's awesome, that's great, that protects the back row massively in many situations, especially if they don't get hit a lot. So in things like Evil Falls or League Challenge 2, he's very strong there, because the opponents hit the back row every few turns and they will always have shelter on them, so they will be taking 50% less damage. You can use him as plug and play in any team, in main stages or system recovery or whatever. So there are situations where your back row are squishy and would die, and maybe you don't even really need to have like massive healing in the team. You can just have Peacemaker, and Peacemaker adds healing. You can have Peacemaker that with the shelter your back row stay alive long enough so they can kill the opponent's back row, damage dealers, and then you dominate. He's very strong in that regard, so he amplifies especially physical damage. He also has the passive here where by critical hits like Wonder Woman or Red Hood, he gets a lot less damage, or a team like that, even though he's a Tana now. And it's also with physical reduction here. Physical damage, he has a 50% chance to have 25%, 50 or 75% physical damage reduction. So he can stay alive longer because he gets a lot of reduced damage from this ability, which is not perfect. It has some loopholes where you can do more damage on him, but he can be very nice with him. He's, especially as a second tank, he's awesome. And on a big high damage dealing team like with Wonder Woman, that's a physical damage dealer, you will kill some people very often, and then he heals himself for 30% of ATP and his allies for 10%, helping with the survivability. He's like a support tank that helps your teammates do a little bit more damage. Very, very nice to have. We'll have to see exactly how the rest of his team might be a lot more dominant, but even now he has a lot of play, and even with his helmet he can sit one more turn with invulnerable. I guess that's to some degree for every character, and he adds more fragile when he gets hit when he has invulnerable, so then that's why I had fit on him, because I already have him in a team that will put out fragile and will make your physical damage dealer do more damage. Now with the helmet this activates more, your physical damage dealer can do more damage and he can stay alive longer to protect them, give them shelter, and until you kill someone from the opponents, then he heals them back up. He's very clutch, very, very strong as a support tank, and basically does the same as Blue Beetle to a big degree by protecting the back row, giving them a lot of shelter that in many matches can be very helpful. Also helps you, as I said, put out more damage offensively by putting debuffs on the opponents. And because Eagle's damage is kind of bugged at the moment, he may actually help more offensively if they fix that. At number 5 we have Superman DCU. Superman DCU is an amazing character, very, very strong, and he also has some extra value besides like being a tank as being a damage dealer. But as far as being a tank, in my opinion, he's like the 5th best character because he spends one turn with invulnerable. He also heals himself a lot passively by taking turns, and he helps like putting out debuffs, dampen, does basically for superpower damage what Peacemaker is doing. He's part of the burn team that can make them work, and he's a character that can one-shot tanks or at least do massive damage to them, both with his ultimate that will detonate a lot, and if you have Superboy's Team Synergy active at rank 10, he will remove their block chance. He basically deals more damage against tanks, so he has more value besides like being a straight tank, but one turn with invulnerable is very valuable. He can fit very, very nicely into a debuff team, as I said, burn, in other teams as plug and play, and with a terrific synergy. He's basically awesome being considered a DPS, having this tag, but working as a tank. So you can activate the synergy, but also have a tank. He also has some physical damage reduction as the original Superman does, that can help you stay alive a little bit longer. At number 6 we have Lex Luthor. Boy, this guy used to be very strong. They nerfed him, they made his ultimate that increases the cost for future users by 1 ultimate point, which is okay in an arena situation, but you also have Peacemaker doing what he does, like protecting the back row without consuming ultimate energy. And he also helps you offensively by putting debuffs, so then Lex would help you offensively by calling assists other big damage dealers. He's still very nice. You can activate his team synergy very easily. You kinda need it in a league challenge where this gives you more stats. In the positives of him, he has a shield that helps you survive, gains damage reduction after a few turns, so then he is a little bit beefier. He calls many assists, allows your teammates, and shields himself, so he stays alive, and allows your teammates to do more damage. Someone like Wonder Woman paired with Zatanna can drain by all the assists Lex is calling her to do. He gains Cloak that allows him to not be controlled. A And he has a sim synergy that makes shields even more effective and can counter a sacrifice team or opponents in the main stage, where he will get free shields for everyone when the opponent sacrifices HP. And there are many sacrificers that you may not play because they're elite, like Phantom Stranger, that you can use him against. But really, like, the nerf that has his ultimate costs 3 and then 4 and 5 and 6, it's stupid. It's not a very reliable to use him in a main stages situation. As I said, Peacemaker does a lot of the things he does, but he doesn't need to consume energy to protect his back row. He just gives them shelter passively after every turn. He heals them, so he kind of does the same thing. Yes, he doesn't have a team synergy, but Lex team synergy is more for early game where it's easy to activate. It's not the strongest team synergy, and especially if you're using Lex, you won't be using his shield very often because it costs more and more, so you maybe use it twice or 3 times, maybe 4 in a match, and that's it. And because after a while it costs like 5-6 energy and you rather wait and use the ultimates of other characters, he still can get some play. But when people get their hands on Peacemaker, and there's so many other characters that you can use, and even with the Mr. Terrific, that's not on the list because the tanks are basically kinda absorbing a lot of damage. I consider Terrific, although he can go in the front row, he has the role of a support that deflects damage and almost like heals your team. And this list is about people that can absorb a lot of damage or protect your teammates, and not themselves necessarily, maybe stay alive for longer. Yeah, but as I was saying, Mr. Terrific into the game makes you need less tanks in many situations because you can have a team that doesn't need tanks, so even less value for Lex. He doesn't add any debuffs to fit into a debuff team. His stock really fell down after the nerf, and frankly I feel it was too much and I kind of feel negative about it. At number 7 we have Grodd. Grodd gets more play because he fits into a debuff team, and he can be a tank that can help in other situations because he starts a match with a lot of damage reduction. But Lex is more flexible and has a team synergy, so he's easier to use in the early game. Grodd does fulfill a very nice role in the debuff team because he adds a lot of debuffs. Then when he does his ultimate, the opponents will have a lot of debuffs on themselves and he will knock back their action bar by 50% if he's at a rank 10. And so this is very impactful. It makes a back row a lot slower. Adds armor break with his basic. He gets damage reduction and more if he has debuff. He's a little bit more of a one-trick pony that you will throw him into a debuff team. Maybe a hybrid of a debuff with a block. He's not bad outside of debuff, but he kinda relies on being there, otherwise he loses the extra damage reduction where you gain more per debuff the opponents have. And after he takes his first 2 rounds, then he's kinda squishy and he's also very slow, so he doesn't contribute much in a match because with debuff the opponents will have an action bar knocked back a lot, even besides Grodd, so Grodd can take more turns, and him being slow is not as apparent there. Him also potentially being squishy can help almost as an advantage in the specific team, because then Raven will revive him and give him 20% more attack and 20% more defense. So in the debuff team you don't really see him being a easy to fall down tank, where you can kinda use him with because of his damage reduction in some situations early game, but he really signs into the debuff team and that's his role. He's a bit more limited. but almost a staple in the debuff team, even though he has a lot of competition. There are many other tanks or tank-like characters that can go in the front row that are putting on debuffs. At number 9 we have Bane. I based this recommendation mostly on many people of the community, but also alliance mates, that they are using a big Bane and they're saying very, very positive things about him. If you can build a team around him that they can heal him many times quickly, like Ocean Master Team Synergy does that, Pandora does that very well, then he starts and he doesn't have any ultimate cost. So once your ability is triggered, the maximum number of times his ultimate no longer costs ultimate points. He gets more healing received bonus, more attack stat, and then he does a lot of ultimates for free, which have a high chance of stunning opponents that heal him. Many people are running a heal crit set on him because he also gets a lot of heal crit stat from his emblem, especially at 25 it's 19.1, it's very high. You can also have the artifact potentially on him where it also would give him another 12% heal shield crit rate. So Bane definitely a character that if you can build a healing team around him to some degree, many people are saying very, very positive things about him. And they're saying that he basically doesn't die because he heals very often and a lot. At number 10 I have Penguin. Penguin is using the back row challenge in the league challenge, it's nice. He can be very strong if he has his emblem maxed out at 30. Because at 30 his umbrella is his advanced attack that gives damage reduction to the back row, and he will give he gets more defense for himself. People that hit him gain poison stacks, and also by his emblem it will when he has the umbrella up, your back row allies will do 10% more attack, and back row allies will deal 60% more poison damage. And his emblem at 30, as I said, he gives his umbrella up for the entire battle, so 10% more attack for your back row, more damage reduction for them. I know, like, I'm using speed on him, so he does that quicker, and then you can use an ultimate turn 1 that will deal 10% more damage. He heals himself with his ultimate, he puts out debuffs as a poison, so he can fit into a poison team. Ivy starting kinda getting an reemergence, and she kinda is starting to use in arena and elite arena, and he makes her deal more poison damage. They're kinda important if you're running the back row league challenge. So definitely Penguin is a character with a lot of value, but you need to have a big emblem on him, and his emblem is very strong. Potentially we can have in the future more characters that deal poison, and then they will be very, very dominant. Also Bright barely didn't make the list. I was almost having her instead of Penguin. And she's very beefy, like she has a nice health pool. You can have her as a main tank that many people in the list that I showed are more used in the second position of a tank. Grodd is kind of using the main tank, but even him, I use him as a second tank because I have Superman DCU that spends one turn with invulnerable, and I found that being more tankier and helps you survive longer. Bright doesn't really have a great team. She can work with crit, maybe because the creature commandos will get a small buff. Maybe this will make them more relevant again. They also fit the anti-hero tag, so maybe Bright can go into and make a team with Judo Master, and maybe this will become stronger and racer stakes. We'll have to see about that. It's also physical damage dealer, calls many assists, which can be nice, can even help you like instead of Lex calling assist, her ultimate calls assist, and you have like your whole team with Frantics healing by a team like this with Satana and the other characters that they have a high crit chance as well as she does her passively, so she kinda works with that. Her revive can be clutch in many situations because then you can die against a very big damage dealer like Batman in a main stage, but then you can have a healer that heals her back up and she kinda ends up staying alive longer, or she can have a even Lex shielding her and she stays alive a little bit longer. She also drains a little bit, both by herself and by Zatanna potentially being into the team. Right now that the Elite Arena season gives more stats to anti-heroes, I use her, but if that stops being the case, maybe I won't use her ever again in Elite Arena if she doesn't get a decent buff. And in main stages, she's kinda... Well, she has a team barely, because many times I use Wonder Woman in a different comp. Martian Manhunter, I see many people use him with block in Elite Arena and he amplifies the healing, so you can kinda help win a mirror match. He kinda works amplifying the healing like with a Bane heal team, and I kinda see that in Elite Arena but not too much. So I thought at least I give him an honorable mention. And let's also give a mention to John, why not? I kinda see him in a little bit. Basically, I wasn't even gonna mention him, but a league mate that does nice scores in the second league challenge said that he has invested into him and he's very helpful there. Also, in the Shield League Challenge, you don't really have many options, so instead of using an elite tank, using John is probably a better option if you have because he can at minimum be at the higher level. He can kind of feel into a debuff team, but this kind of feels forced. I kind of see that a little bit in Elite Arena, but he doesn't really do much. Maybe some people have investment into him because he's a little bit helpful in League Challenge, and then they slap him in debuff. At least you got a mention. Many people were saying always that he's terrible from the moment he was released.